I
Yeah,
welcome you to All About Supply Chain podcast series. Thanks a lot
okay.
for accepting my invite, and it's a pleasure to talk to you. Today, we have interacted earlier also. It's always a pleasure to learn from you. And I thought that it's
Sure.
good to talk about manufacturing operations and this field as a whole so that our audience can also learn from your experience and they can utilize that experience in their daily job or they are doing business or something. So before we proceed, if you can briefly share about your experience with the audience, and then we can take this topic forward. Thank you, sir.
Sure, Maninder. Thanks for organizing the discussion, and then I'm very happy, very excited to be part of this discussion, this program, which you are doing it for the community, for the manufacturing operations, or overall industry, right? So, just to give a quick introduction, I finished my college in 1993. I did my diploma in electronics, and I started working in 1994, early 1994, and then I was in Chandigarh for 10 years. I worked for a company called Deltron Limited. And I started from shop floor, being a technician, doing the testing, production, everything what comes my way, right? And I was there, and then I was handling, some small area, then bigger area, and part of the overall organization requirements. And then 2004, I got an opportunity. I moved to China. I started working with a company called Flextronics those days. Now they call themselves as Flex.
Okay.
And yeah, I was in a beautiful place called Zhuhai, southern part of China, and I was handling operations for various things like mobile phone cameras, camera modules, as well as Xbox or different projects, right? And 2007, end of 2007, I made a move. I joined same company, but I joined in Malaysia. So I
Okay.
moved to Malaysia. I worked there for 2 years. I was mainly on Cisco networking products. I joined there as engineering manager, and I'll say my whole career, those 2 years are the best learning experience working at a very efficient, scalable organization.
Okay.
And in Malaysian culture and Malaysian way of handling manufacturing operations is something way beyond what I have seen even in China and of course in India, right? And it's a great place to learn, right? And 2009, I moved back. I joined a company called Centum Electronics, based out of Bangalore, where I was handling the production for the high mix, medium volume, low volume, customers, right? And I left that in 2017. Between 2009 and 2017, the whole business mix moved from a very automotive, commercial, industrial to 60-70% in defense and aerospace, right? So the organization transformed itself from, very, how to say, middle complex products to very high complex products. And we did various products, from different customers across the globe. Part of that, then I moved to a company called Idea Forge Technology, where we met, we started interacting. And then it was the company name called Idea Forge Technology, based out of Navi Mumbai. And I started setting up their whole shop floor operations, systems, ERP, quality systems, and everything. Very fortunate to have this kind of opportunity, where you are, doing everything from almost ground zero, right?
Yes.
And when I came out, I'm very happy that we are able to bring operations to a very good level in terms of predictability, cost, quality, delivery matrices, right? And 2021, end of 2021, I left and then took like 6-month break, trying to do different things. Moved back to Chandigarh.
Okay.
And and started my own consulting company called Zenaca Consulting, where I work with various companies to set up their new shop floor around electronics manufacturing.
Yes.
Typically on contract manufacturing, electronics manufacturing services, what we call it EMS. And I have done various projects, and very fortunate to be part of this discussion. Very happy, have a lot of time these days for the family and for, sharing and, whatever I have learned in all those years, right? So I believe it's a time to give it back to what you have got from, right? So happy to be part of the discussion, and I look forward to have very fruitful, very meaningful discussion in next 30-40 minutes.
Yeah. Thank you, sir. And almost 30 years of experience, worked in critical sectors. You mentioned automotive, defense, worked across different verticals, especially related to manufacturing, handled critical parts. So I think even one discussion, what we are going to do today will not do a justice. So maybe we will need some more sessions
Sure.
cover
Anytime.
our discussion, and
Anytime.
it's a lot to learn from you, considering you have worked
Yeah.
different countries as well outside India, and the perspective you can bring to this space as a whole.
Sure, Maninder. Sure.
So, so to start with, basically about manufacturing as a space. So, if someone has to understand, okay, people have general idea about the space, what basically manufacturing means, but considering your rich experience, according to you, if you have to share with someone to explain someone what does it mean, what this industry actually means to the world globally in terms of the economies. So how will you explain that, like, so that everyone can relate to this field when someone hears about it?
Sure. So, Maninder, see, I come from a very strong electronics manufacturing background, which is PCBA, box build, anything which is, what do you call it, mobile phone or networking products or telecom. So, whatever answer I'm going to give you is are going to be skewed in this particular domain of manufacturing, right? Because manufacturing is very vast, right? So textile is manufacturing, or machining is also manufacturing. But all my answers will be towards electronics manufacturing, and then I think our viewers has to understand whatever I speak, right? So if you ask me, manufacturing it started like 100 years back, but in India we start doing I'll say very strong manufacturing when the globalization happened, and somewhere around 90s we start getting into the steps of electronics manufacturing very strongly. But first 10-15 years we were not great, but I think towards 2005 2007 we start picking up the steam of electronics manufacturing in India. And whatever is happening, and the steam has been at the peak for last 5-7 years, right, since the the new governments and new schemes and all these things has come into picture with the lot of space in China plus one strategy, or China plus move to Asia strategy, right? So have been part of the journey where we were very small in terms of manufacturing of electronics products, way back some 20-30 years. But now, as of today, it is at a very different level, right? I was talking to someone yesterday. They were doing around, talking about 10,000 CR worth of revenue in a year, next year. And these are the companies, Indian companies. It's not global players, and it's great. And I'm also, as part of my consulting assignment, I work with a lot of people who want to get into this particular space, right? So I have people who are from greenite manufacturing, people who are running educational institutes, people from textile. They are showing their interest. Can we get into electronics manufacturing? Can we ride this wave? And just to put some number based on the reports which are available in the open domain, electronics manufacturing in India is growing at around 17-18% at CAGR, right? And which is great. None of the industry will ever see this kind of growth, right? Okay. And everything which was not related to electronics is getting related as electronics. For example, certain reports says that an automotive in a car, the 40% bill of material belongs to electronics these days, right? Various sensors, various IoT products, and whenever you buy a new car these days, people talk about it has better features, right? But if you talk about better features, nothing but more of AI or related to whatever electronics can do, right? That's the space we are into as of now.
Okay. So you mentioned about that people are getting interested in this space, considering the growth we are witnessing, especially in India, with whatever has happened in last few years. And yes, you rightly mentioned that it has got a very big traction also recently, and we are like getting into an efficient mode in terms of manufacturing also. So if we take any case, like the people with whom you do discussions, who wants to get into this space, so what kind of knowledge will be required to do to make a setup or start manufacturing in electronic space where you have the expertise? and what kind of KPIs or deliverables or something on those lines will be required to make sure that the setup is is good in place, so that whatever is expected in terms of outcome can be delivered to the customers. And from the customer side also, what kind of expectations are there, which is where the India is going now in terms of delivering better day by day. So how this works, if we can take
Yeah,
an.
sure. See, long questions I have to answer in a long way, right? So, you have to excuse me for that. So, when you say electronics manufacturer, there's typically two bigger buckets, what do you call it, right? So, one is that a company has to design a product, they have to scale it, right? That is one. And another is a company has to do manufacturing services for someone who's designing a product, right? So, this is called contract manufacturing space, right? So, both the space are going great, but I have to admit, I have to say that the contract manufacturing space is growing at a much bigger, better space than the original original product manufacturing companies are growing, right? Sadly, we haven't still caught up with China or Europeans or Americans in terms of designing great products, right? For example, fact on the table that we don't even have a good, great mobile phones, which is designed in India. We don't have a good, great laptop, which is designed in India, right? There are certain things going here. I'll not take the names, but nothing compared to what global players have done, right? So in terms of designing the products for electronics market, we are still have a long way to go. But for the global players who design their products, and India offers a very, very good manufacturing ecosystem for them to manufacture and scale the whole manufacturing in India, right? So that space is growing pretty strong. And now the space which is contract manufacturing is typically a service industry, right? Where the products are designed by customers, and then you have to do scalable manufacturing at a very efficient in a very efficient way, right? So I'll say if someone has to come into this particular industry, right? So the first requirement is a customer delight mindset, which has to be brought in. Okay, so that solves 70% of the whole discussion, right? So as long as there is anyone from any domain or background or knowledge, right, comes with a customer satisfaction, customer delight way of working, right? And that's what is required, right? That's the first thing. Of course, there will be commercials, there will be investments, but I think on-ground skills, on-ground technical requirements, know-hows can be set up. There are people in the industry, there are consultants like me in the industry, they'll do all kind of technical know-hows. But from promoter side, from the investor side, the customer first, customer scalability mindset has to be there. This is second. And to answer your question on the KPIs, what kind of KPIs we have to deliver, right? So there's quite a long discussion with what we can have, but typically is if you divide the KPIs, it is delivered or divided or can be structured in 4 different buckets, right? The first is a delivery. Are you delivering a product at the right time? I'll explain a little bit more on this particular topic. Second is a cost. Are you delivering the product at the right cost? What do you have agreed with your customers? Are you delivering the product at the right quality levels? What do you have agreed or expected from the customer? And to do all the 3, which is delivery, cost, and quality, are you involving your employees to the way they can deliver all the first 3 matrices, right? So the fourth one, which is very important, is the employee involvement, right? The Japanese call it total employee involvement. I'll call it employee involvement, right? One and the same thing, right? So these are the 4 buckets, right? In which you can divide the whole manufacturing execution KPI, right? Of course, there will be business KPI like what is the growth, what is the customer you're winning, what is the pipeline. Those are the separate KPIs, right? But from manufacturing operational, so these are the KPI. Now, coming back to delivery, if you allow me to explain in more details, for example, people talk about OTD, right, which is on-time delivery performance. Some people call it on-time fulfillment performance. So whatever you call it, right? So in my short language, I'll call it OTD. So OTD can be divided into further into 2 different buckets, which is OTD against what is requested by customer, and OTD, what is you have committed that you will be able to deliver, right? So customer can request can be very, aggressive, can be a bit ingenuine at certain point of time, but whatever you commit after looking at everything, that is already commit, right? So I think these are the first two KPIs, which we always believe must be managed for a good delivery performance, right? OTDC, OTDR, right? A request as well as commit. Okay. But however, a lot of organizations don't put focus on managing these delivery KPIs within the organization, right? So they always look at the outside view, but they don't look at the inside view of the whole KPIs, right? So to meet that, let's especially if you are into a mix of product business, right, where you have maybe 20, 50, 100, 200 products, right? So you also have to measure your shiftly performance in terms of what you're packing, what you're supposed to pack, right? So in case you have to pack, a certain model, 100 numbers, you should pack 100 numbers, certain model, whatever number, right? So internal KPI to support the customer KPI is what are the line items you have committed that you will be packing on a particular hour, shift, or day, whatever intervals you set up. Second is you can't pack unless you start. You can't pack unless you start. The second KPI is how many line items you're starting. You thought you will be starting at this time, right? So if you miss the start, you're not going to complete the whole production in that particular thing, right? So second big KPI, I will always recommend people to start looking at it is, are you starting on time? And a lot of people don't believe into that particular KPI. It took me some time to make people understand, unless you start on time, you can't finish on time, right? So that's second is the starting on time. And the third KPI is the material readiness, right? So are you getting the materials, or do you have the materials available for shop floor to convert against whatever you have planned versus whatever you have actual, right? So you have to integrate it backwards, right? So it's customer OTD request, customer OTD commit, and then whatever you said you will be packing in a particular day shift, and whatever you're starting in a particular day of shift, and then whatever material you believe that you could have given to the shop floor, are you giving the materials on time? So if these things put into place and then being, discussed, reviewed, challenged, monitored, corrective action can be put if things are not moving in the process, right? You can meet the end customer deliverables, right? So this is on the delivery, right? Of course, you can break it down to, day into shift, and shift into hour, and hour into minute, or, those are the micro level, whatever, people has to do, right? And these days, quite sadly, I have seen organizations, especially in the space where I am working or consulting different companies. The use of technology is also, is not as it should be or it could be, right? People are still, not implementing various MES system, which is manufacturing execution system, which can give them the good hang of the numbers what they're producing. They're still going with the travelers. They're still going with the physical counting on the material, and not required actually, right? So, use of technology, use of simple computer barcoding scanners, displays, and pushing those messages into different people's, WhatsApp or mobiles or emails, are the things which I think Indian ecosystem should be very open to, implementing all these things, right? So this was on the delivery. You have any comments, any clarifications, any questions on this particular topic? So that otherwise I'll move it to the next one, which is, cost of the as a KPI.
So we can cover that part, and I will touch base few points from this, and I'll
okay.
Yeah.
So see, when you talk about the cost, right, whether you are an OEM or whether you are a contract manufacturer, right? So the first thing, what you need to do is, see, before you start the production, right, you work on a quotation model with the customer, right? And customers and supplier, they come and agree to a certain cost of making a product. Let's say it's $1 or $100, doesn't matter, right? There is certain cost which is agreed for making a certain product, right? So for cost, the first KPI is how is your quote versus actual happening on the shop floor, right? So if you have quoted $100 as a cost of conversion to the customer, right, and then you have baked in your 5%, 10%, whatever number, right, as a margin, right? And your cost should be 90 if you quoted 100 to customer, right? Now, are you managing 90 as a 90, or you are not able to manage that, right? So that's the first cost KPI. And then it can be further brought down. Let's say, what is the material contribution? Are you managing materials as per, quote versus actual? Or the second one is your manpower. Are you managing manpower as per, cost versus quote versus actual? And third one is your machines, right? Are you using the right machines which you have committed? Are you using the right machines for the right time what you have quoted for customers, right? And the man, machine, and materials, right? Methods are,
Yes.
I think, contribute to all, right?
Yes.
And the fourth one is the scraps. How are the scraps? How are the attritions? How is the droppage? How is the, this thing? And another KPI for a manufacturing industry, especially for electronics manufacturing, is the engineering change notes, right? Are you claiming those from customers? Are you charging them for the customer? Are you revising your quotations for the customers, right? So engineering change notes, inventory carrying cost, and all this, whatever related to cost, right? How is the health of the inventory? How is the obsolete inventory being managed?
Yes.
Things like that, right?
Yes.
So this is on the cost, right?
Yes.
The third one is the quality, right? Now, a lot of people believe that, okay, quality is a measure of what customers are reporting to, right? Yes, nothing wrong into that particular thought process. Quality is what customers see at their premises, or customers see after sending the product to the field after some time, right? So that is the right measurement, but that is the outcome, right? You don't have any control on that particular KPI unless you control your internal quality indicators, which is final quality. Are you producing the product? What are your quality levels at the final production levels? What are your levels at each stage? What you are producing your product into? How is your in-process quality? How your final quality? And third one is how your supplier quality.
Yes.
Which can be done in a different way, like incoming quality, as well as auditing the suppliers and finding how is the supplier quality at their processes, right? So a lot of people, as I said, let me repeat it again, believe that the customer quality is the only KPI they should look at it. No, the answer is no. You can't have good quality product at customer end unless you fix your final quality, your in-process quality, and your supplier quality, right? So these are the three indicators. And of course, you have to have your, certain indicators like cost of poor quality or cost of quality, whatever you call it, right? So link that into a certain dollar number for everyone to review those numbers, right? So I was speaking to someone, and then they are seeking my help to work with them on some quality projects, right? So the expectation from customer is the product should be defect free for next 12 years, right? So which is big number, right? Big number. Depending, I will not be able to explain or discuss what product and what customer it is, but yeah, the end customer expectation is that the product should be defect free for next 12 years, right? How do you make sure, unless you have a good processes which are controlling the whole product quality on the shop floor?
Correct. Just here, like you have shared very key three areas: delivery, cost, and quality. Like, which is something which is common across any type of manufacturing, even if we are talking about electronics or any other type of manufacturing. While you are explaining all these points, you have covered very critical points. For example, in delivery, you said that the our internal plans or what customer is asking, these two needs to be seen accordingly. And coming to the cost part, you shared about different cost types, and then for the quality part, it is not only about customer quality, the in-process quality, how we are controlling internally from the start is important. In India, there are so many MSMEs with a scale which is such a small scale that they hardly have any employees. Somewhere is it a reason that it's becoming very difficult to ensure that these small companies are able to follow all these things? Like, it seems that we know that what we should do, but would it be possible for a small scale company like we have in India, like in such a big number?
See, it's all about setting the priorities right. Okay. It's all about looking at the cost. And where do you want to invest, right? Do you want to invest into replacements or field repairs or returns or losing the customers, or there's a bigger cost rather than investing your resources into building the right quality product, right? So I think I'll say it's not about size of the organization. It is about the priorities of the organization, right? How do they want to build a good quality product and be profitable, right? So case in certain like automotive, right? Or even a smaller industrial product companies, right? So if they don't invest into the right people who are quality conscious, who value the quality in terms of the business retention, in terms of the profitability, in terms of the customer satisfaction, customer growth, right? There's no way you can sustain the business for long term, right? So that I think that's a mindset discussion, not that whether it is possible to invest into those resources or not.
Okay. So it's not about small scale or big scale. It's more about
No.
what are the priorities.
So what are the priorities? So see, for example, I have seen organizations, they are okay to invest into people, reworking the material rather than investing into people who can avoid those rework, right? So people has to understand, what does it value to, invest into the right set of people.
Correct. Okay. So sir, we covered delivery, we covered cost, we covered quality, and I think there's a fourth one which you were about to complete in the KPI sections.
Yeah. The fourth is the employee involvement, right? See, whenever we talk about KPIs, right? Delivery, cost, quality, right? But if you don't talk about people, right? None of the KPIs will happen actually, whatever we speak as part of the first three, right?
Correct.
So the KPI is how do you involve your people in the organization? How do you involve your people in the whole purpose of whatever you're trying to do for your customers, right? So when I say employee involvement, right? So the first one is how do you train your people, right? How many trainings you're doing? How many internal, external, on job, people development, knowledge sharing. How do you bring people to the speed, right? That's one. And second is simple KPI as like say Kaizens, right? So how many Kaizens people are doing, right? So when they do Kaizens, they learn something new, right? They learn something better. There is a culture that whatever you're doing can be done in a better way, right? There is a culture that always have to look for how can we do it better than what we are doing, right? So if you keep doing that, it has an impact on all the first three or one of the first three KPIs what we discussed, right? So this a Kaizen. How much is the attrition? How much is the absenteeism? How much is the planned, unplanned absenteeism? Because if people are not involved, engaged, right? So you can't run operations the way you expect those operations to be done, right? So you can't have disengaged employees running world-class operations, right? So employee involvement is something very, very important, right?
Yes. Okay. So like we covered now all four KPIs in detail, which can form a base of any manufacturing setup, apart from the other KPIs, which can really be related to business and other part of the organization. But we will keep this as basics. So if we specifically now focus on what is happening in Indian manufacturing space, maybe related to the electronics part as well, which is growing shared by you. What basically, in terms of challenges we are facing currently, and in terms of which is hindering us to grow fast. If I can compare it with the countries like China, who has done very well in manufacturing space, which has further led to a very high economy, their good GDP numbers. They are now at a level where we can say that they can showcase us what can be done in this space. So what challenges this industry is facing currently, and what can we do to manage those challenges and use the opportunities which are possible? available, possibly available in this space?
Sure, sure. So see, I will answer this question in two buckets. What is internal view, and what is the view what people see India as, right? So
Okay.
that also becomes very important to see, right? So I'll answer the first one is that how do we what is the internal view of the whole discussion, right? So I think the first is that how do you set up a growth mindset for the promoters or investors or the leadership team, right? So people has to start looking at it, start believing that they can grow, right? So that's first one is the growth mindset, right? And to do that, you might have to have investments, you might have to run behind customers, you might have to do whatever you have to do, right? So the mindset of growing an organization, which I think Chinese have done it beautifully, right? So you will see, or I have seen, I lived in China, I worked with a lot of Chinese suppliers, right? So the speed at which they execute or grow their operations is phenomenal, right? But I don't see, unfortunately, witness those kind of decision making, hunger, mindset to grow the organization, right? So that's the first thing, right? One key indicator as part of this particular conversation, I believe a lot of people will be looking into this, hearing this conversation, is what people from outside India look at as a challenge working with Indian supplier is the cultural issues related to the commitments, right? So Indian suppliers somehow as a mindset, we don't respect our commitments, right? We don't believe that whatever we have said, others has taken it as a word, right? So I think you can agree with me that suppliers from outside India, they don't believe if Indian supplier says they'll deliver it on 30th of this month. They don't believe that, right? So they need to monitor you, manage you, and even if we are not able to deliver on 30th, we are not communicating to those suppliers well in advance and seeking help. These kind of cultural things, right? So I think very important for Indian suppliers to look back, retrospect that how is their OTD against commitments, right? Forget the request, right? That's even difficult to achieve, right? But at least whatever you have committed, right, based on certain assumptions, right, that you'll be getting this material, you can allocate this machine, you can have whatever is your assumption, right? So you have to, as a cultural, you have to respect their particular commitment, and then then only you can grow, right? So both answers are linked to each other, but yeah, we need to look into that. The third one is a lot of people in Indian ecosystem, which I come across with, they are okay to invest into building, they're okay to invest into machinery, right? But when it comes to investing into the people, and I'm not saying the salary part or the money what they give to people, right? They don't invest a lot into people in terms of course, the salary is one part, but into their training, development, growth, professional growth, whatever you call it, right? So as Indian ecosystem promoters or owners, right, always invest into people, right? Because that is something which is going to pay back to you very strongly, very quickly, very efficiently, right? So you have to invest in people. Case in example, I was talking to someone, called me for a consulting, their new setup, right? He talked about, he's building this land, he's building this multi-story building, and this is the line he want to plan and all these things. So I asked him, how many people you are planning to, hire as part of the leadership team to run your new plant, so, and he doesn't have an answer, right? He was not very clear on what he wants to do, right? So he was believing that, the existing people will go and run the new factory, but that shows a mindset of those people, right?
Okay. But do you see a shift in this space? Like from last 5-6 years, you mentioned that the growth has been tremendous in this space. So do you see a shift which is happening, or it will take more time for
See,
us?
Maninder, it takes time. It takes time, and it will take time. And especially, certain part of India, it is quite, I'll say, solved, but certain part of India, it is not yet solved, right? So investing into people, it is also like very regional phenomenon in India, right? So I will not prefer to take the names of the regions, but yeah, in certain part of India, people don't invest into people, right?
Okay.
But certain part of India, they have learned it from their peers in IT or other companies, right?
Okay, got it, got it. No, I think you have covered this in a very good and brief and very clear manner, because I can agree. I have to agree with you on all these points, because
Right.
I have worked on shop floor. Supplier relationship management is one of the key areas which I feel I'm strong in. And I know the struggles in this area. And sometimes I do see some companies who can do very well, but they are not focusing on their people. They are not focusing on thinking big, or the mindset you mentioned, the growth mindset,
Correct.
how we have to
Correct.
grow in a way that our customers feel a delight, from where you started the conversation also. So I think
Correct.
connecting the dots is also one area where I see a very big gap. But yes,
Right.
take some time, like what you mentioned, and we will be there. Coming to the last section of this discussion today, um, you started from shop floor. Uh, the growth has been tremendous across different organizations, different verticals. Now you own a consulting firm. You have a global exposure. If you have to give guidance or inputs to anyone who wants to grow like you, or make a career in manufacturing space, or anything related to it, so what kind of advice you would give to those people? They might be newcomers in the field, or they are already in a middle management role but want to do something in manufacturing space. So what would you advise in those terms?
Okay. I think this is going to be the most difficult question in the whole conversation, but I'll try to answer in a very detailed way, right? So see, Maninder, whatever has worked for me, it might not work for everyone who's listening to this particular conversation, right? So what I can share is based on whatever has worked for me, and then people has to interpret and then pick and choose whatever is working or will work for them, right? So, and the first thing is the way I look at it is these days the people, right? They see an organization as a jumping stone, right? A jumping stone to achieve some financial numbers, right?
Okay.
And nothing wrong into that. People has to grow, people has to earn more money, and nothing wrong. And I don't need any justification that why people don't have to earn more money. But I believe in that process, case in example, I have seen resumes which are like 7 organizations in 9 years or something like that, right? And I believe, yes, people can grow very fast by changing 6 organizations in 9 years. But I think at a certain point of time, they become like unemployable, right? So they reach to a certain salary levels, and without much of content into their professional, skills, right? So they become unemployable, and then they come back. They come back and start from not zero, but somewhere in between again, right? However, I believe people who are especially at start of their career, let's say 5 years, 10 years, right? They should work in an organization where they learn. They should value the organization in terms of the learnings they are getting. They should value the organization or their managers or the whatever you call leaders or managers, whatever you name it, right? So value the organization, value the leader, what you have got an opportunity to work with, right? Then and create a value for yourself. Then only organization or the market will value you, right? So a lot of people these days, very sadly, don't bring in generating value for themselves. They are, for them, value is just money, and then they just keep jumping every 6 months, 1 year, 1.5 years, right? 3 years is also bigger time. So I think, to summarizing the first discussion, stay in an organization for a reasonable period, right? I'm not sure what reasonable means to people these days, right? But let's say if I have to circle back and look at my resume, right? So I worked for 10 years in the first organization. I worked for 5 years in the second. I worked for 8 years in the third organization, and I worked for 4 years in the last organization, and then I started my own consulting company, right? So bring some stability so that you are learning something. Otherwise, you keep changing, ships here and there. It's not going to help you. This is one. Also, learn whatever comes to your way. You can't be picky, choosy about whatever comes your way, right? So that cannot be a reason to jump around here and there, right? So whatever comes your way, learn, right? So it may be tough, it may be difficult, but keep the doors for learning always open, right?
Okay.
This is related to whatever I said before. Always look at the bigger picture, right? During the process, let's say you're working for an organization, you are hiring, you are conducting shop floor, you are conducting making some decisions on whatever, right? Be it appraisal for your team, be it scrap. Look at the decision as, will you make the same decision if it is your own company, or whether you own it, right? So that entrepreneur mindset, sorry, there's some disturbance. Yeah. So whenever you make some decision organization, right? So make it as you own this company, right? And then you make the right decision, and then you grow yourself, right? Third one is learn how to work with people. I'll not say people management, right? You can't manage people, right? You have to learn how to enroll people into your goals, right? You have to learn how to enroll people into the organization goals, right? So learn working with people. And there is nothing, if you are especially getting into leadership roles, right? Or even, let's say you said you come from very strong sourcing background, right? If you don't know how to, work with people, right? You can't get good quality, good delivery product from your suppliers too, right? So people management, again, I said people management, it's like people working with people, right?
Yes. Okay.
And I think these are the typically three major things, right? And the last is growth. Money will come, right? Money will not go anywhere, sir. Money will not go anywhere as long as you are growing or increasing value for yourself, right? Whether the same organization will value you or someone from the market will value you, right? So money is an outcome. Money has to come, right? But you can't chase money, right? The more you chase money, the more you don't chase your learning, your development, your skill set, your people management. So that's the way I have been. I have been very fortunate to work with great leaders. I can't name in this call, right? Great leaders, and even today, when I will make some decisions, I'll refer it back to how that person will make that decision if he is here today, right? So value your managers, value your leaders you got a chance to work with, and then we become one of those mix of all those personalities, right?
Yes, correct. So to summarize this, so basically you are saying that learning is very important. So the focus should be high on learning, especially in the initial phase of the journey, rather than just moving here and there and focus highly on the financials and commercial part of your job. And don't limit the opportunities that I will learn this and I will not learn this. Whatever come your way,
Correct.
in terms of
You have to learn.
learn it.
You have to learn.
And it is very important to understand the dynamics, how you are able to work with different set of people, how you are able to work with different set of mindsets, because everyone will bring a perspective, and you should be able to consume it also, and you should be able to work with them in different scenarios, and ensure that how you can add value to the organization. And then if everything is in place, the money will come any day. Like if you are running.
Money has to come. Maninder, money will not go anywhere, right?
Yeah.
Money has to come. Money does not have another way to or path to go, right? It has to come to you.
Yes. No, thank you. Thanks a lot. I think I have got my answer. And it's a very big topic, and it's hard to cover it in one go. But I think to
Sure.
yeah, I think
we can have another session on this too, right? So don't worry about it.
Yes. And I'm sure that the audience will be able to basically understand the key base of this manufacturing side. And then maybe with more episodes, we can help them understand more about it. So thanks a lot. I
Sure.
really enjoyed my discussion today.
Thank you, Maninder. Thank you. I appreciate your time.
Yeah, thank you.